What is the dumbest thing anybody has ever seriously said to you? Excitedly told me that a stripper he bought a lap dance from liked him so much that she asked him to come back again to see her. Is this all the bleach we have? This was said by my sister, who was holding a gallon of bleach in each hand. Her plan? She was going to fill the bathtub up with bleach and bathe in it because she wanted to bleach her hair blonde. While watching The Mummy 2. These mummies are chasing a bus through London. My mom asks. They didn't use real mummies, did they? Had a roommate in college that would drive me everywhere cause she had a car and I didn't. The first time I got on the highway with her, she got on the left lane and floored it. We were going 90 plus on a 60. I freaked out and asked her why the hell she was going so fast. She said, "What's the big deal? There's no speed limit on the left lane on a highway. You can go as fast as you want." She refused to slow down till we had to take our exit. We had a long argument on why that wasn't true that involved calling several people and googling things to prove it to her. Facebook post. Dude. Ashton Kutcher totally looks like the guy from that 70s show. That is Ashton Kutcher. What? How? He would have only been a baby in the 70s. A loved one recommended putting whiskey in my baby's bottle to help with teething. Not rub her gums with it. Bad idea anyway, but straight put the whiskey in her bottle. Look lady. The alcoholism runs deep in this family. I'm not about to get her started in her first year of life. While driving with my sister's then boyfriend to go disc golfing. He was staring up in the sky very intensely. I asked him what he was doing and he replied, "Just doing my part for the environment." Confused. I inquired further. He then went on to say how chemtrails from planes are spreading chemicals. But if you stare at the chemtrails, you can use your willpower to get rid of them. He was bat crazy. Lizardman crazy. You're Korean? I thought you said you were Asian. I shouldn't be giving my dogs ice water because ice has chemicals. Dihydrogen monoxide is scary. What county is Germany in again? Well, quite a lot of them. There for a while. After having just boarded a train from Budapest to Vienna, a woman approached me and asked in haltingly slow English, "Does this train go to Vienna?" Full stop. I answered yes. And that I was also going there myself. Her response, "You speak English very good. Where are you from?" To which I answered that I was from Canada. She then said I am from Florida. Do you know where that is? Had a friend that didn't realize dogs were the result of selective breeding. She thought all dog species existed in nature somewhere. The thought of packs of pugs hunting for food in the forest still makes me chuckle. My friend, when she was 18, we used to have baby chicks and then we had chickens. I don't know what happened to the baby chicks. Their mom. I used to have a baby around here but now I have a teenager. WTF happened to my baby? With my mother at an aquarium. Are those seahorses or unicorns? I always get them mixed up. We're going to the beach to watch the sun rise out of the ocean. Want to come? Our beach faces west. An American, struggling with my accent and a little cross about it, asked me where I learned English. Semicolon. England. The answer is England. I'm English. I thought nurses only flirted with doctors and was there to look pretty. 19-year-old classmate back in high school. When talking about my relatives that died in the Holocaust, my friend said, "Man, that sucks. Did you at least know them? I was born long after World War II. I worked with a dude that had no idea what gravity was. He was 19. Turkey is vegan. Random lady stating that she's vegan and then proceeding to order a club sandwich. I was the waiter. Guy. You have the most beautiful green eyes. Me. My eyes are blue. Guy. Exclamation point. I couldn't remember if they were green or blue, so I guessed. Me. I'm standing right in front of you. You were looking right at my face when you said that. Why didn't you just look at my eyes to see what color they are? Guy. I didn't think of that. My husband is Colombian and he was speaking in Spanish to a co-worker from Puerto Rico. Another co-worker overheard them and was flabbergasted that they spoke the same language. She asked where my husband had learned to speak Puerto Rican. This was a 40-year-old woman with a high school diploma and access to the internet. I honestly thought she was kidding at first. But sadly she wasn't. Why do we have to turn the printer on for it to work? My 45-year-old coworker. Closely followed by intense, life-altering revelation tone. If you were paid more, you'd have more money. My mum. Coworker said my parents are on vacation in Mexico. I say what part? I'm going to fall on my sword for this one. I once very confidently told a room full of women I worked with that X must be mistaken. Because women don't have a colon. Prostates. I got them confused. Luckily, we were all on really good terms. So I just got laughed at for a few months. Don't they speak Russian in Brazil? Because Russia and Brazil are right next to each other? Close runner up. What came first? World War I or World War II? Edit. For everyone asking. Person 1 meant Brazil, not Belarus or Bulgaria. I blame that on her not finishing high school and being generally uneducated. Sweet woman. Great friend. Just uneducated. Person 2 is probably cheating because it was a friend from middle school who I assume was having a brain fart because she was a generally smart person. I was talking about how I was getting a birth control implant in a few weeks and someone asked if I was scared of getting stuck up my butt. Had to clarify with him that birth control implants don't go up the butt. I was waiting at the DMV. And my baby was asleep in his carrier on the floor. Some totally normal looking middle-aged guy in a suit leaned over and smiled at him. Then said, "How cute. Are his eyes open yet?" Dude literally thought humans were like puppies or kittens. My aunt said I couldn't have energy drinks because they had alcohol. Auntie probably got wasted drinking a Four Loko. The last time I spoke to my mother I was in the process of designing a desalination plant. To take salt from seawater to make it drinkable. My mother always felt the need to find all the negative things in everything I did. She said it was a stupid idea to pursue as it would take the water away from the fish and cause more harm than good. Been over a year now. Dumb bitch. An old school friend refused to breastfeed or formula feed their baby. They gave the baby milkshakes instead. Because ya know milk is milk. Also my mother told me, in all seriousness, that we have belly buttons because that's where our tails used to be. I bet stupidity is the leading cause of childhood malnutrition. Edit. In developed nations. Knew someone who thought Red Bull was made from bull urine. If the earth was round all the water would fall off. Schoolmate to me. Poland was never communist. I grew up in Poland. When it was communist. My sister-in-law was afraid to drive up hills because she was afraid if her car didn't make it up, it would flip over backwards. My mom has this phobia. Trips to San Francisco were ridiculous. From the world's dumbest boss. While scribbling a co-worker's birthday card with an inane message about the children's rhyme Old MacDonald. How do you spell E-I-E-I-O? Used to work with a guy who can't understand what 50% meant. Like, it's half dude. Just divide by 2 in the calculator. There is no proof the earth is round. My 17-year-old friend told me she didn't swallow after blowing her BFBC. She wasn't on the pill and he hated wearing condoms. I was confused and asked what she meant. She looked at me like I was stupid and said she didn't swallow BC. That's how you get pregnant. By swallowing after a BJ. I had to explain to her that she was, in fact, Not correct. That's Texan abstinence only sex education for ya. While eating out, we asked our server to bring us some ice and he asked if we wanted real ice. He wasn't trying to be funny and looked confused when we asked what other kind of ice there is. You would have got a real surprise if he brought you a bag of methacca ice. My uncle married a woman who already had kids, so I guess they were my cousins. Marriage didn't last long. Boy oh boy were they dumbass. One came and stayed with us for a week or so and had never been to my city before. She was an idiot. 2 quotes stand out. 1. She thought lions were fairy tale creatures. 2. While on the train an Indian couple came and sat across from us. She leans over and whispers so loudly, "Those terrorists are going to kill us." A friend owns a bakery and I was helping her out during the busy holiday season. I was at the counter cashing out orders and assisting customers place orders and purchase ready-made pastries. One lady needed a birthday cake. I showed her the case cakes we had available and the one she chose had cake crumbs coating the sides. She wanted happy birthday written on the side of the cake, on the crumbs. I told her the writing would not stick to the crumbs or the crumbs and icing would fall off together. She looked at me and said, "Well, I could do it. If I knew how." I waited a beat and responded, "Well, I could do brain surgery. If I knew how. So, I guess we're in the same boat." She got my point and opted to have happy birthday written on ribbon and laying across the top of the cake. While watching Big Fish. After a character is turned into a fish, my sister's boyfriend turned to me and asked if the movie was based on a true story. Edit. Stereotypical blonde popular girl raised her hand in science class, 10th grade, and asked the teacher, "How did Mother Nature know what the president's faces looked like to naturally form Mount Rushmore?" I once had a black man tell me, a white woman, that black women's periods are literally just a single drop of blood, which is why it's called a period. I was literally speechless. Years ago, my wife, her sister, her sister's daughter, and I were walking down the street on a summer's day and we stopped in a frozen yogurt place. Everyone ordered one. My wife sampled hers and asked me if it was bad. I took a lick and it was definitely spoiled. I demanded my money back. The kid behind the counter refused to refund me. I said the yogurt was bad and I wasn't going to pay for bad product. Then the idiot says to me, "Well, if it was bad, you shouldn't have eaten it." WTF? I replied, "How the hell are you supposed to know it's bad if you don't eat any?" I got my money back. Daycare nurse. The sun and the moon can't be up at the same time. I'm looking at the moon in the sky during the day. Behind her, they came over to my place at night and proceeded to tell me I need to use the skylight more. You have to join a church to go to college. Someone once asked how long I'd been a twin for. Teaching my students about graphing relationships using a story about my real life experience of skydiving. I told the whole story including the chute opening and peacefully gliding back to the earth. Student raises his hand and as serious as can be asks, "Did you die?" I work at a vet clinic. Owner. My dog has a bunch of ticks on his belly. Lift dog up to show off his abdomen that is full of scabs. Me. Mum. Those are not ticks. Those are his nipples. Owner. Those aren't his nipples. Male dogs don't have nipples. To sum it up, this lady ripped off this poor dog's nipples because she genuinely thought that male dogs do not have any. It took, sadly, quite a bit of time to inform her that male dogs do in fact have nipples. Edit. Answering a couple questions. 1. No, I did not make a TikTok. I don't have TikTok. IDK what everyone is talking about. This happened to me 4-5 years ago. 2. This exact situation is actually pretty common. Many colleagues of mine have had the same experience as this. Surprisingly, many owners do not know male dogs have nipples, mistake them for ticks. 3. Ignorant owners are a common occurrence in the veterinary field. Yes. It's sad. 4. Veterinarians do not have the power to confiscate animals. They are to report it to law enforcement animal control. 5. The dog got the treatment he needed and he is healthy. Peeing after sex will prevent pregnancy. Also, there is no such thing as bisexual people. These statements both came from the same dude, by the way. Honestly, it's crazy how people can be this stupid. My older cousin told me to have the guy put cold water inside me afterward and I couldn't get pregnant. She had twins at 16. Thank God I actually paid attention in sex ed. A 22-year-old girl at work, whom I'm not close to at all, asked me if I would co-sign on a 4BD 3-bar house for her to live in with her 10-month-old baby. I'm going through a divorce and live in a 2BD house with my boyfriend and our 3 kids. Edit. She's 25. Which I think makes this worse. After hearing about bestiality. My sister once said that kissing should be illegal because it's romance fraud. Huh. Is romance fraud? I once began a story of a bad car accident I had with the line, so a few months ago I flipped my car. And this girl, honestly very sweet and with sincere shock and concern, replied, "Oh my god. Were you inside?" I then decided to change the story and falsely explained that I wasn't inside the car, but had been very angry and flipped it with my bare hands like the Incredible Hulk. I need to know your star sign before we can be friends. No thanks. I'm good. My sister said I can't believe 9/11 happened on actual 9/11. Co-worker, F28-29 seriously asked me if the dolphins were the females and sharks the males. I thought Ethiopian was just another word for poor people. Not to me, but my dad told me about this old buddy of his. They were watching the Olympics and the camera showed a shot of the moon and my dad's friend asked him, "Hey, Kevin, do you think that's the same moon we have?" Dude was apparently serious but very drunk. As he always was. My friend's sister said, with a straight face, the movie Monsters Incorporated is tied to a pedophile ring. Apparently something about the screams of children are pleasing to Hollywood elites and Democrats. She really believes this stuff and posts about it on TikTok like it's fact. And I love how her kids can't watch a cartoon because she thinks it has subliminal messaging that will turn them into perverts, but they live on Mountain Dew and MC Donald's cheeseburgers. You'll get skin cancer if you never go outside. My mom to me trying to get me to go outside when COVID started. Last skin cancer research conference before COVID shut everything down. One of the presentations was about how people discussed tanning on Twitter. When she read out a super popular tweet about how tanning is healthy and prevents cancer, there was this full room groan. Like a couple of hundred scientists facepalming at once. When I was a river raft guide we'd get some dumb questions. But my favorite was, are we going to get off the river here at the same spot we're putting in? No. No we're not. Or sometimes yes we will if they were from Ohio. Oh, I remember the people who thought actual lying rivers were fake like a lazy river. No Linda. The massive S river in the gorge surrounded by mountains is not fake. Is Hawaii a continent? And there are only 3 continents. Both said by my friend who I got into a Discord call with to teach them that there are 7 and a possible new continent. My computer nearly killed itself for my friend's stupidity. Random guy. What kind of Asian guy are you? NE. Korean. Random guy. I'm South African. I sometimes get asked if I know people's friends who live in other African countries. Like. Sure. Of course I know your Kenyan friend. Was at his house for dinner just last week. My former manager told me that he understood women with big breasts because once in his life he had pecs and it wasn't easy. Why isn't the white ink printing on the paper I'm printing coming from the person who orders the ink cartridges? All alcoholics are allergic to penicillin. My mom. No idea where she got this information. But she's a hardline AA member. So I work a butcher and had this young girl of around the age of 15 ask me what's the difference of chicken and beef, being quite serious. I was that shocked I couldn't really reply, and the mum was looking at her with complete shock, and she say to her, well honey, one's a bird and the other is a cow. And the girl was like, oh okay cool. Sheltered kid in college once said, our pay is SX right? Needless to say, me and several others who heard him gave him an explanation about the difference between the two. Then a few days later, that shooting stars are actually dying stars falling out of the sky. Where is the Leaning Tower of Pisa? Do cats lay eggs? The gravity makes it feel heavier than it actually is. I was in a law enforcement position at the time, and during training we were learning about currency sniffing dogs. One of the girls in the training, do they sniff credit cards too? My dad was scrolling through YouTube and with all the astonishment of a young boy in an 80s Spielberg movie said Noah's Ark. They found it. That abusing children is a good thing because they're successful in business. My parents. Everyone. I lived in Australia and she lived in the USA, and she argued with me that I was the day ahead of her. I literally explained the time difference, but she didn't believe me. They misfiled something, and instead of owning up to their mistake, they told me it was actually my fault and that I didn't know the alphabet properly. If you take the vaccine then you'll get COVID. When I was in grade 6 at a Catholic school, my teacher, God would rather you starve than eat without saying grace. Apparently God would rather starve children than not get a little praise. While staring at a baby that was a few months old, a friend asked me, do babies ever grow? Tell her they not. When in an argument where I was using facts I found from reliable articles and studies online, you use Google like a Bible, my reaction was just, full stop. Full stop. What? She was crazy and quite religious, but still. I don't get it. It's a search engine. You use it to find information. I don't worship it. I don't treat it as scripture. It's in no way similar whatsoever. What the actual did she even mean? It made no sense. And she said it with such confidence. In a gotcha tone. Like she just won the debate. I cannot for the life of me figure out what she meant. Oh, I have one that just happened to me yesterday. I was at the drive-thru of El Pollo Loco. I said I'd like a double chicken burrito bowl. The girl sounded confused and asks me if I meant a burrito or a bowl. I said, again, the double chicken, the burrito bowl. She then says, which one? A burrito comes wrapped inside a tortilla, and the bowl comes in a plastic bowl with no tortilla. To which I replied, after a moment of silence, yes I know. It's called a burrito bowl, it's the same thing. And she just said no. Dot. So I repeated my order but called it a double chicken bowl because God forbid I call it a burrito bowl. Somewhere in this thread is a confused woman talking about how some idiot tried to order a burrito bowl. I once heard my sil tell my nieces not to stand on the cold kitchen floor barefoot. It would give them a bladder infection. Another time, when I was 16 and she was 24, my brother had finally put her on a checking account. I go to the grocery store with her and my nieces. We're checking out and she tells me she doesn't know how to write a check. So I explain how to do it step by step. She signs her name to the check. I immediately notice she has spelled our last name wrong, so I whisper this to her. This dumb bee argued with me. I finally whipped out my learner's permit and compared it to the check with her and my brother's names printed on it. She was just indignant she was right. I have a whole lot of stories about this one. How my brother has stayed with her for 40 years is a mystery. She hasn't ever smarted up. While I worked at McDonald's we had an ice storm and I spent 2 hours getting my car de-iced. I was freezing and crabby. And when I told my boss I was there and how much ice I had SCR'd off, one of my co-workers yelled from the grill, "That's what boiling water is for. You pour it over the car and windshield to melt the ice." My manager and I stared at him with the expression of how can you be so stupid as the rest of the grill team mocked him mercilessly about cracking and shattering windshields. I don't let my husband watch PRN because that's gay. Straight white lady I unfortunately had to work with. My ex-girlfriend's family believed that dinosaurs never existed because the earth is only 6,000 years old, and that dinosaur bones were planted by the devil to test your faith, because the devil is behind carbon dating and God wouldn't lie to us. Climate change is not real. Oh no guys, the water's smoking. He was boiling water for ramen. If a nipple falls off, it grows right back on, doesn't it? No. No. It doesn't. Friend who was in an engineering course with me, are islands attached? Or do they float? I worked as a COVID-19 screener for a few months back when it had just started. The stupidest someone asked me was a girl asking me if she was positive for COVID-19, what should she do with her clothes? I was so tempted to tell her to burn them, but I had to be professional. Use a face mask dude while he was only covering his chin with his face mask. You're petting your cat wrong. SMH. The riots in Washington were actually done by Antifa to make conservatives look bad. So said a friend of mine. He's the best president we've ever had. You know who. Driving with my best friend for the first time on the motorway, and as she went over a couple of rumble strips she said she thought they were there so that blind people knew when they were getting close to the edge. Bill Gates wants to control us through vaccines. They want to track your every move by putting a microchip in your body through the vaccine.